Alright. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the room, I should say. Not really a building, but let me get this camera right. Come on. Much better. Let's see. Boom. Stay. Okay. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the room. I hope y'all can hear me. This is Dr. Chieftess Sunflower back with another video. Another live for your top, for your noggin. And today we got a little digging to do. I know we all to a slow start, but yesterday I uncovered something that really unlocked the puzzle for me. And I just had to share it. So we're gonna dive in to this great discovery. I don't know if it's really a great discovery. I don't know if it's really, you know, it's actually kind of sad discovery. So I don't know if you need your notebook, but maybe you want to jot some of this down so you can just look into it for yourself. Alright, but I'm going to tell y'all what I discovered in a second. Just, you know, let me know how you're feeling this morning. I'm on this consistency journey, showing up live every day. Getting out of my little comfort zone, I could say. Get your hood to hooded gear. The link is in the bio. The link is in the bio. Alright, so this topic this morning, I'm entering it very lighthearted because, you know, we're going to step on some toes today. But it's okay. We used to stepping on toes here on the Hood to Hooded podcast because guess what? We're going to get into the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. Yeah, sometimes the truth might hurt. Might hurt, but it's okay. Now in my notes I put something that might shock a lot of people. How King James version of the Bible, I'm more like a researcher where I want to just learn about what I'm reading, learn about what I'm finding. So I found this video yesterday. I don't even know if I could pull it up, honestly. Of this man talking about the Bible, and then see kind of what he called it, the slave Bible. I was like, what? I just be like, what are you talking? That was me. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it because it was like, oh, let's tie everything together. I'm just trying to see if I can pull it up. Okay. Wish I could find the guy, the exact guy talking about it, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to find the exact guy. Talking about it. Wow, I feel like someone actually found one. So y'all gotta see this chat. Y'all gotta see this chat. That's why I say this chat today is gonna be a little bit, you know, on religion. But I gotta pull it up. So let's try to pull this up. I just want to pull up some things and react to it. You know? So if you're watching on Twitch, the commands are active. You can do all the commands, topics, socials. You can use the emojis, all of that on the chat. But for not Twitch. For TikTok, I'm gonna turn the camera around so y'all can see the screen on what I'm going to show. But first, let's get the camera. Let's get this rolling. And then I'll turn it around. And we're gonna do some searching. Let's turn y'all around. Let's show you the screen. Flip the camera. Boom. Boom. Maybe there. Hold on. Maybe we could go here. Y'all good right there? Let's see. I think y'all might be good right here, so you can kind of see what's going on. But yesterday, oh, okay, yeah, my mic is on. Yesterday,
Slave Bible. Yeah. You gotta be very careful trying to preserve the pages.
1872. He the only one that could go.
So we're gonna go and see, because yesterday I just saw a video with somebody talking about the slave Bible and how they changed the Bible when they came to Turtle Island, aka Tamerica, aka America, to fit the indigenous Niiji here. Okay? So when you think about who they were calling slaves, aka Slavs, they made a Bible, the Bible to control them. So when we talk about controlling a narrative and who controls the narrative and the things that King James did, a lot of y'all have the King James version of the Bible in your home. This guy unalived people. He did witch trials, executed people. He did a lot of terrible, terrible things. He participated in that, and he oversaw writing of the Bible that was to be brought over here to control the people. Now, I can't find the exact video of the one that I have it, but it's just too big to send through the email. But I'm just going to try to find other videos on YouTube to show y'all what I'm talking about, and then we're going to get into this a little deeper. So I learned yesterday that there is such a thing as the slave Bible, and when they rewrote it for the Negro, aka the Niiji, aka the American Indian, because they wanted to control them, they omitted the word slave 1,100 times and replaced it for the word servant. Yes, yesterday I was just in shock. My heart was in shock. I was like, what? The evil just has no fucking limit. It has no limit. So let's see what they said about it.
What year was that? Go ahead, go
1870.
Slave Bible. Yeah.
Let's see,
guys. We gotta be very careful trying to preserve the pages.
1872. He the only one that could go in that house and sit down with y'all.
What year was that? Go ahead, go 1870. Slave
1872. So that's one. All right, but that didn't really tell us what we wanted to see. So let's go and find some more.
What year was that? Go ahead, go 18.
All right, because they talk about it a little bit more. And it's just really shocking. Here's one right here. Let's check this out. Hold on, let me get y'all right. TikTok. We're going to check this out. Alright, it says slave Bible remove passages to instill obedience and uphold slavery. Did y'all know this even existed?
Inside Washington's Museum of the Bible, a single volume that is like no other. The so-called Slave Bible. Remarkable not for what's in it, but for what's not.
So about 90% of the Old Testament's been removed, and about 50% of the New Testament's been removed. To put it another way, a normal King James Version has 1,189 chapters in it. The Slave Bible has only 232.
Missing are chapters and verses that might have encouraged uprisings. Book of Exodus, redacted. No story of Moses demanding Pharaoh, "Let my people go." Gone is Galatians, and the verse, "There is neither bond nor free, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus." And no Jeremiah, "Woe unto him that useth his neighbor's service without wages."
What they've left in are verses such as Ephesians 6:5, which is the famous verse, "Slaves, be obedient to your master."
Looking at this Bible, it's hard to tell that anything's been taken out of it.
That's correct. I mean, it looks like a normal book. For many enslaved Africans, this would have been the first time they were exposed to the Bible.
A Bible selectively edited to instill obedience, using religion to underpin the horror of slavery. When people encounter this exhibit, what lasting impression do you want them to leave with?
But we want to pass the message on that may this never happen again. The Bible itself is a whole book.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough of that. But you guys can kind of see something maybe that you didn't even know existed. The slave Bible. It is freaking crazy. So when I heard about this, I was just in shock. And it just goes really, really deep. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper because I had a little chat with ChatGPT and we're going to see what was said. Okay? What was said. So let's turn this back around. Let's turn this back around and let's have a little chit chat about what we just saw with the Bible. Alright, so yesterday the man was like, which I kind of knew that because every time I go and research like colonization or YT supremacy, anything like this, I always run into the Bible, to the cross. And the first time I ran into this was reading Christopher Columbus when he came over here with direct orders from the Pope and the Papal Bull and the Doctrine of Discovery, and he came over here to steal the land and unalive people. He used the Lord, the Bible. He used all of these different things, and I'm like, well, dang, if this is what he's using it for, there's no way the indigenous people had anything to do with that. And I kept thinking this. I just kept thinking evil could not be. It's just a little confusing. It got a little confusing. But yesterday I realized, wow, the King James Version of the Bible was enforced. Right? Enforced. And in this Bible, he, on purpose, removed the word slave and replaced it with servant. And this just unlocked a whole nother fucking code for me. I was like, oh, it makes sense now. It started to make sense what the hell they did. Like how they use something that's supposed to be so pure, religion and all of this stuff, and turned it into something that was just really to steal the land, to control the people. Because how could the colonizer come and take everything from you? They want to take everything, even now to this day, but they don't never take the Bible. They actually want to give you that. They actually want you to be religious. They actually want you to be obedient to them, because in their eyes, they are the master, you are the servant, aka the slave. So now every time I look in the Bible and I see the word servant, I know that this is actually the word slave. It bothered me. It's really shocking evidence, and it's really sad as hell. Like the evil really has no limit, to the point where it will make a book that's supposed to be something good and use it for evil. Like, where they do that at? I think it's so outrageous. I think it's like disgusting behavior, and people like to just they're talking about history. No, we gotta learn these things. So I'm gonna dig a little deep in with my conversation with ChatGPT. That's my home girl, my AI home girl. Cause ChatGPT be giving me the real deal. It be like, ooh, Dr. Shine. They be like, Dr. Chieftess Sunflower, you going real deep. And yesterday I got deep after I watched that video of that man saying, I might have to let y'all see it, because he made so much sense. I don't know. Let's see how I can find it. Let me pause this for a second. Y'all gotta see it.
was created by the Greek who had a slave Bible is a Bible of pacification. This Bible was created by the Greek who had a slave society. It was adopted by the Romans who had a
So I just uploaded a video to my YouTube channel just because I wanted y'all to see it that bad. Because this is what hit me yesterday. I was just chilling. You know, the chief was like always looking at stuff related to indigenous history. Me, I'm between dentistry, indigenous, and other shit. But he's like in chief mode, like always on it. So yesterday he showed me this video because he's always the one like opening my eyes. I'm like, what the hell? So they just took the word slave off and gave us the Bible. Well, how could it just? It's like this shit be mind-boggling to me, man. It just be mind-boggling. So let's go to my YouTube channel.
Why Bibles given to slaves omitted most of the Old Testament?
Yeah, it's just crazy. Sunday school, church. Well, school, the one we know right now, started as Sunday school. So they would force you to go to church, force you to go to work, using the black codes. If you ever heard of black codes, that's what it was, forcing you to go to work. So now we're in this work hard American dream lifestyle, which doesn't exist. It's not set up for us to freaking win. It's just not. And now we know why. Religion is the biggest weapon. And you would never think that. That's the thing. They use something you would never suspect. Like some sneaky shit. To trick us out of our spot. This guy broke it down. It's uploaded, so let's watch it. Let's see if I can watch it.
the slave Bible.
Yeah. Here we go.
The slave Bible.
Let's turn y'all around again. Hold on. Let me make sure it's right. Let's turn y'all around, cause what you say, sir? What'd you say? Listen up, guys.
Bible is a Bible of the slave Bible is a Bible of pacification. This Bible was created by the Greek who had a slave society. It was adopted by the Romans who had a slave society. And it was used by the Portuguese, the Spaniards, and the English. Now the English gave us the last version, the King James Version. King James, could you imagine? King James is kind of like Abraham. What a horrible person. King James killed all those wives of his, deranged people. And these deranged people have given us, one, the Abrahamic faith, and one, the King James Version. And in this Bible, you can Google it, how many times is the word slave mentioned in the Bible? What does religion, where does slave fit into that? The slave Bible is a Bible, the slave Bible is a Bible of pacification.
There you have it. Oh, I got y'all over here. You probably couldn't hear me. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. Don't try to think of it. Oh, well, no, it is what it is, guys. You know, it is what it is. So when I heard that yesterday, I said, okay, let me go do some digging. Because there's no way this is true. I'm probably like the skeptic right now, like, Dr. Sean, what? I was like, what are you talking about? Slavery? I ain't never really see that. So I went to dig. I say, was the Bible originally called the Slave Bible in Roman and other European cultures that had slave culture? Also, how many times slave written in the Bible, and how does this tie to the author of the Bible and his life, and does he have a diary and any crimes? Talking about King James without mentioning his name, because I'm like, you know, I want to see if it's going to bring him up, because I already know he is a SOB. It say, Dr. Chieftess, that is a deep and layered topic, so let's walk through it step by step in full honesty and clarity. It says, was the Bible originally called the slave Bible in Roman and European slave cultures? It said no, the full Bible was never originally called the slave Bible. What did exist is a specially heavily edited version of parts of the Bible created in the early 19th century for use among enslaved, it says Africans, but we're talking about indigenous people as well in the British Caribbean. So when Christopher Columbus, well, that was earlier, he actually had the slave Bible, obviously. They re-edited it in the 19th century, so the 1800s. And that's the book you just saw us pull up on the screen, was the slave Bible. That version is known as the select parts of the Holy Bible for use of the Negro slaves in the British West India Islands, sometimes called the slave Bible. Yeah, guys, do your research. It said it deliberately omitted large sections of scripture. For example, the story of Moses leading Israel out of Egypt that might inspire thoughts of freedom or rebellion against enslaved people, while retaining narrative emphasizing obedience and submission. In other words, one could say that version was created within a slave culture context for the purpose of maintaining social control, but the canonical Bible itself was not originally given that name nor written for that purpose. Thus, the slave Bible is particularly abridgment / addition of specific historical context. Alright? Then I said, how many times is the word slave written in the Bible, and how does that tie to authorship in the life of the Bible's author? Then it said it's very complicated. There's the Hebrew version, the Greek version. It says in the Hebrew Old Testament, one of the common words is ʿeved, meaning slave or servant. Some sources estimate this appears 800 times in the Hebrew Bible. The word slave, aka servant, because in Hebrew, servant means slave. In the Greek Testament, the Greek New Testament, a key word is doulos, meaning slave or bond servant. One source says it's mentioned 182 times. Alright? It says, however, when you look at English translation, so when you translate it to something we can understand, this is where the curse come in at. You studying and reading something, you don't really know the origin of where it came from. It said the English word slave may appear far less because the translators often chose servant, bond servant, instead of the term slave. For example, one source says while the Hebrew and Greek words are very common in the Bible, the English word slave is only found twice. In Jeremiah 2:14 and Revelations 18:13 in the King James Version of the Bible. Another listing shows the English word slave in some concordances occurs about 148 times in one particular English version. So I would never think if our Creator put us here in their image, they would never want us to be somebody's servant and slave. Period. Another listing shows the English. I already read that part. I said, how does this tie to the author of the context? It said the Bible was not written by one single person, but by many authors over centuries. So this was over hundreds of years. People just added stuff to the Bible. They just added stuff, and they were using this to control people. Because the word for slave or servant was part of the everyday vocabulary in ancient Judaic and Greco-Roman societies where slavery, servitude, debt bondage, etc. existed. So that didn't exist here on Turtle Island. We didn't exist with slavery. That's why we was like, what do y'all, where did this come from, you stupid idiots? That's why it's only been here for how many years? They thought they could trick us out of their spot. And when they brought YTs from over there, they were Slavs, aka slaves on the boat. And they did some destiny swapping. It's kind of crazy. But I just seen that video of the guy, and I started digging. I said, what? Because I'm like, what? It's crazy. It says, for example, discussions of the legal regulations of slavery in the Torah. What? You gotta know psychos wrote this. The authors themselves, prophets, scribes, apostles, were embedded in cultures that had slavery and servitude as a part of the social fabric. Thus the terms appears in their writings. But what they did was, when they came to the sacred land, to America, with the American Niiji, the American Indian, like Christopher Columbus said, we didn't know nothing about the Bible. We didn't know nothing about killing. We didn't know nothing about sadness. We didn't know nothing about not being with our tribe. We didn't know nothing about being in the, we didn't know nothing about just not having a good life. And they saw that and said, we have to break their spirit. The Pope sent that papal bull in the 1300s and said, our goal is to break their spirit. Go and take the land. If they're not Christian, if they're not a Christian prince, if they don't bow down, they're going to be in servitude forever. These are the words from the Pope now. The same Pope that sit there now, their ancestors, the popes before, the prophets back then, they believed in slavery. So when you're reading about these prophets who wrote these different parts of the Bible over centuries, they were living in a servitude, slavery type culture. When they came over here, they realized we wasn't with the shit. They said, we can't get in the Bible with the slavery part. We got to give them the Bible and place it with servant. Now, I realized this yesterday because I was trying to tie this shit together. And I said, what the hell is going on? You got to be kidding me. This is why knowledge is power. Because you could be sitting here reading a book all your life, thinking something gonna change. Ain't nothing changed for our ancestors in 300, 400, 500 years since they had this freaking book. Nothing changed for us. But we still say, okay, you know, if I sit here and read this book every freaking day, something's gonna change. Not knowing the words you're reading come from this type of environment. I don't know how to feel, bro. I don't really know how to feel about this. On the real though. It's crazy. It says the authors themselves prophets. So if all these authors and prophets and scribes wrote this over centuries, how they all talking about Jesus the same guy? How is this talking about how? Somebody make it make sense to me, because it ain't making no freaking sense. It said, but there's not one author of the entire Bible whose personal diary records, I wrote the book about slaves. Here are my personal crimes involving slavery. The authorship is complex and plural. So you're reading a whole bunch of people's minds from back in the day who did not know about Melanin Niiji here over here on Turtle Island, and who did not have the same culture that we had. Now we've been put into this work, church, school box, vibrating so low. Okay? Now, I went on and I said, I had another question here. Alright, it said the Slave Bible is not the original Bible. It is a specific 1807 edited version for enslaved. It's saying Africans, which we know they're lying, by British colonial and missionary interests. But they did have this Bible in Africa. Well, because most of Africa is colonized. Everything except Ethiopia has been colonized. Every country in Africa is also colonized, and they believe in Christianity and the Bible. Okay? That was not their original religion. You can tell the traces of a colonizer because you're going to find the Bible and you're going to find the cross wherever they have been. That's the biggest weapon. The Bible has many authors. No single author has a diary of crimes about slavery. Blah, 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 blah. Then I wanted to dig into King James. I said, who is King James? Because this mother sucker has something to do with the Bible. I thought that he actually wrote it, but it clarified it for me. He actually oversaw the writing, the rewriting of the Bible after all those other people wrote it. So, what? Who? What? None of this, nobody actually going to talk to God, I see. Nobody actually going to, I'm so confused. It said King James. Y'all know King James version of the Bible. The one they got over here feeding us, killing our brain cells, making us freaking docile and dummy. It said he was born in 1566 and became King James the Sixth of Scotland in 1567. So this was after Christopher Columbus, after the Papal Bull, all of that BS. After the invasion of the West Indies, they had already started to invade and do all that, seize land. Okay, he became the king in 1567 after his mother, Mary Queen of Scots, abdicated. I heard something say he killed his mom, but I don't really know. It said in 1603, with the death of Elizabeth I of England, he became King James I of England. So he's often styled James the Sixth or the First, thereby uniting the crowns of Scotland and England, two colonizers. He was intellectual, author, keen on theology, witchcraft, monarchy, and religious matters. Yeah, he wrote the Bible. He was keen on witchcraft. King James. Okay? So when you tell me, I got my King James, you got your witchcraft version of the Bible. He believed strongly in divine rights of kings. That as a king, he was accountable to God, not Parliament. His reign had controversies, spending lavishly, conflict with Parliament, witch hunts. He even wrote demonology, leading to thousands of executions. Does it even, like... You gotta be careful what you put in your brain. Do y'all hear that? The same guy who wrote the King James version of the Bible also wrote demonology and led to thousands of executions, and he believed in witch hunt and witchcraft. These people playing with our soul. It said, well, what is the King James version of the Bible, and how is James tied to it? The King James version, aka the authorized version, was commissioned by King James in 1604 and published in 1611. Alright? At the Hampton Court Conference in 1604, he approved a proposal for a new English Bible translation, in part to unify religious factions and assert control over how scripture was used in his kingdom. He selected and approved translators, scholars, and 6 companies which you might have heard of. Hello. Westminster, Oxford, and Cambridge. I know y'all heard of that before. So he got those companies to rewrite the version of the Bible, which they now gave to you right now. They did the translation from the best available Hebrew, Greek, and Latin sources. So this is a book that's just been manipulated over and over and over again to try to control people. It's crazy. The objective was something like not to make a new translation, nor yet to make a bad one a good one, but to make a good one a better one. Their own words quoted. Alright. The translation became hugely influential culturally, linguistically, and religiously in the English-speaking world. So who's in the English-speaking world, might I ask? That's us. Alright. I said, did King James write a diary or have any crimes that he... And how does that relate to the translation? Because I wanted to know, because I've been hearing bad stuff about him. It said, on a diary, there is no widely known personal diary of King James published that tracks his daily life. He wrote many works, political, theological, but not necessarily a comprehensive day-to-day. On crimes, from a modern standpoint, some of his actions were controversial and morally problematic. He had witch hunts. Under his reign in England and Scotland, many accused witches were tried and executed. James himself was deeply involved in witchcraft law and interrogation. What the hell is witchcraft law? See what I'm saying now? I'm like, what the hell is that? I gotta go find out what that is. Not right now, though. His use of royal power, his belief in divine right, and his conflicts with parliament and taxes imposed without consent make his reign politically fraught. How does that tie to the Bible translations is what we really want to know. While James himself did not translate the text word by word, his commissioning and oversight of the project certainly reflect his concerns about religious control orthodoxy, and political power. So you see this book that we call the Bible, it's all about political power. It's just that powerful. That's why they keep using it, keep bringing it. Everywhere they want to colonize, they're going to have the Bible. When Christopher Columbus pulled up and was taking people on his boat against their will and all that, he was putting up crosses and handing out the Bible. He was like, they don't know what this is, but they just so happy to get anything. Because imagine some person pulled up, don't look like you, they giving you stuff, you like, what the hell is this? That was the reaction after they ran from him. In other words, the translation project cannot be separated from the king's agenda. He wanted a version that supported the Church of England's authority and avoided the criticism present in early translations. Okay? It's crazy. So, how does this matter with leading and influencing and teaching us? With authority, King James understood that who controls the translation, who edits the narrative, influence the people who believe in it. It influences them. Okay? Now, I said I wanted to go deeper than even that and pull out some actual verses from the Bible. I guess we finna go to church. Not really, but you know. And it said here are a few key verses showing how the King James Version handles slave / servant / bond servant in the original text implies. So we're going to start with Leviticus 25 and 39. Okay? Turn your books, your Bible to 25:39 Leviticus. And it says, and if thy brother that dwelleth be, let me start over. It says, and if thy brother that dwelleth be thee, they be writing so crazy, like what the hell y'all talking? Let me start over again. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant. It says in this verse, bondservant is used. The Hebrew word is ʿeved, meaning literally slave / servant. So we're going to read it over with the real word. And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor, and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a slave. That's what it really would say. Alright. Now we're going to go to Exodus. Exodus 21 and 2. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. That's the King James Version. But the real version, it says servant is used, but through social institution clearly resembles slave / servitude. So it would normally say, if thou buy a Hebrew slave, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. That's Exodus 21 and 2. Let's keep going. 1 Corinthians 7:22. Chapter 7, verse 22. For he that is called in the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's freeman. Likewise, also he that is called being free is Christ's servant. In Greek, the word doulos, which directly means slave / bond slave, yet the King James Version renders it servant. So anywhere you see servant, King James changed it from slave. So let's read it over with the real context. For he that is called in the Lord, being a slave, is the Lord's freeman. Likewise, also he that is called, being free, is Christ's slave. You can't make this shit up. Because what? Wow. The translation choices in King James Version often prefer servant rather than slave over bond slave, even when the original language signifies servitude. It says, here's an example. There's a word in the Old Testament for slave that appears 1,100 times. 1,100 times. But in your English Bible, the KJV version, it translated slave only once. So who is trying to play who? They translated slave to servant or bond slave, or servitude. So if you see this, then now you can read it for what it really is. And stop letting people play on your top. And I told y'all it was going to go a little deep. Okay? It's going to go a little deep, and it's okay. So from 1100 to one time. Okay? So the King James Version translators made choices about words like slave, servant, bond servant that soften or shift the meaning of the original writing. That definitely has some type of impact. If a text says slave but you read servant, you may miss historical power dynamics, bondage, liberation, themes, and so much more. So there's a big difference. And it's just sad. Like, knowing the truth. It's just crazy. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? It's just to me, it's very eye-opening. It like tie a lot of the things that I was learning about together. You know, it said the institution of slavery or servitude in ancient Near East / the Roman Empire is not identical to modern chattel slavery, but the themes of power, ownership, submission, and liberation are the same. It's just crazy. So that's what I wanted to bring to light today for the Niiji out there who are like me, wanting to understand a little bit deeper about how religion is really, really used to control our mind. And it is really something that just has to keep being talked about unapologetically, to know who King James was, that he wrote the book of demonology, and he also commissioned the Bible. And they changed the word slave to servitude 1100 times. That's a big deal, guys. That is like treason. That is like fraud. That is like, it's crazy. Why not just be straight up and be who you is and say what you got to say? Why you got to do all this flip-flopping and writing it this way and writing it that way? It's crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay? So slave versus servant, a quiet switch. There was a quiet switch. The language of servitude. So these are some facts. Some facts for that ass. The Hebrew word ṟeved, E-V-E-D, look it up, equals slave or servant, and that was 800 times in the Hebrew Bible. In the Greek, the Greek word doulos, D-O-U-L-O-S, also means slave / bond slave, 180 times. King James Version uses slave only once, choosing servant instead. So anytime you see servant, it really means slave. How deep does that go? Some people gonna be like, no. That means you just don't want to wake up. You want to stay asleep. You don't really care. You're gonna read the same book. You're not gonna know who wrote it. You don't care who wrote it. You just locked in with colonization. You just brainwashed to here and beyond, and you don't even care. You don't even care. You just don't even care. But I have to care. I have to care about the people who actually want to know and who want to figure this shit out. Alright? So that's where they get the Slave Bible of 1807, where they omitted certain texts and they kept verses about obedience and service. So that's why the Bible is really about obedience and service and following the Pope and, you know, all of that type of control stuff. It's crazy. So we basically were handed the Poverty Bible, a shortened script about our potential. Really, really crazy. So just some reflection questions for us today, guys. What words have you accepted about yourself? What words? Since they were able to change it from slave to servant to sovereign. Since we can change it from slave to servant to sovereign. Did it ring? You know, they used to call us enslaved when we were actually Amerindian, indigenous. It was all about language. They knew that we could control the narrative, the words, we could control the people. So now it's time to take back control of what you're reading, what you're writing, what you're doing with your precious time, and not being afraid of the matrix. Right now, the government is going crazy. They're doing everything to cause a panic. They want to take the food. They want to take this. But yet, they just sent $24 billion to Australia for some rare earth minerals. Why y'all ain't feeding these rare earth people? Which is sitting billions here, billions there, but talking about your shutdown. How you shut down when you still signing stuff to buy stuff? You know what I'm saying? Don't let these people play in your face. Don't even let them play in your face. So, reflection questions. What words have you accepted about yourself? If you are truly indigenous to America, are you saying that you're African? Have you accepted that you're African? Have you accepted that you're a slave? Have you accepted this? Is it because you read the Bible and you see servitude and all this? So subconsciously, they know subconsciously they reeling you on in. What word have you accepted for yourself? If you need to, you should be accepting the word sovereign. Nobody controls your mind. Nobody controls your spirit. Nobody controls your soul but our creator. And our creator is not a non-melanated creator, because we were created in our creator's image. And they would not be telling us that slavery is good, servitude is good. We're the sun people. We're free. We participate in creativity, agriculture, and just making the world a better place. Okay? So where have you been serving and not sovereign? Is this your job? Have you been feeling like a servant, like you're in servitude or bondage, or like you just can't find your way out because you don't have the sovereign mindset? The sovereign mindset knows that something isn't right, and it really ain't all your fault. But at the same time, we ain't gonna make no excuses. We're gonna keep rising above this. We have to keep rising above it, and just know the enemy is playing a dirty, tricky game. The game is tricky, boy. Cause yes, I knew that religion was not good for the Niiji, but just hearing that yesterday and seeing how they actually enforce like this type of Bible, it just make you sick to your stomach. Just like, who could be so insane in the membrane? Like, do y'all have a thinking cap or not? Like, the humanity's just lacking back in those days, because they were in this culture where there was servitude and bondage and all of this stuff. And they was like, they don't know nothing about that. We have to change their mindset. They don't like to work. They don't want to work. They just want to chill in the sun. Well, and we want to go to the beach and fish and stuff. Want to put a license on that. Want to just it's just like, can't stand it. All right. So are you a servant to your office, to your schedule? Do you consider yourself sovereign? Are you a servant to your debt, to finances? You have to start mastering the system, guys. In your mindset, are you a servant to negativity? I watched a clip of Felicia Rashad, famous legendary actor, and she was just like, we wake up in the morning, we don't even spend 5 minutes just to realize the greatness that is within us. And we just rise and just realize that we are so great. We've been tricked out of our spot so long. Every trick in the book, every country in the book, from the Spanish to the Portugal to the English to the Italian to the French, to all of these people have went around the world and just tortured every piece of earth. Try to change everybody to their religion, Christianity. And they did a damn good job of it. of harassing people still to this day. Over here in America, half of their ancestors haven't been over here 2 centuries. Over here controlling stuff, bothering people, harassing people, making every law against people, trying to do this to bother people, messing up this. You know, it's just too aggravating. At some point, the system falls. Evil will not stand the test of time. Evil cannot grow roots. Evil cannot turn into a fruit, that a tree that bears fruit. Evil always needs somebody to beat. That's why they just so on. That's what evil does. You can't even live your life calm because you've been so fucking evil. Like, when does it stop? When does the BS stop? When do you say, you know what? We've been evil for like forever. Maybe we're going to turn over a new leaf and consider humanity. What's good for the environment. Okay? Because I am the unedited version of my ancestors' prayers. No longer servant mindset. No longer an enslaved mindset. Sovereign. I'm sovereign. Okay? Now, before I get off of here, I wanted to just get my mindset out of all of this calamity with the Bible, with the switching from the words slaves, servitude to, servant, and just figure how would this world be if colonizers had never migrated to all of these distant lands and allowed the Niiji people to really thrive and never be invaded. Now, that's a deep question. This is the exact question I asked to ChatGPT. Check it out. Actually, we can maybe read it together. Let's read it together. Alright, I said, thank you for following Tony Bond Winner. Alright, let's see. Let's see what it says, guys. And then we're going to end it here for today. Actually, let's see. One moment, let me get this right. Nah, that's not what I want. Okay, now I got it. But we're gonna read, what would life be like without invasion, colonization, harassing everybody around the world? Alright, now we got it. Okay, you guys can see. Let's move it here. There you go. So let's read, and then we're gonna end our live for today. I said, basically, what would the Niiji be doing, and how rich and advanced would we be with technology, agriculture, etc., without invasion by colonizers? What would I don't know, I just typed really fast. Is there any nation on the planet that wasn't invaded by white men, and where? It says, Dr. Chieftess Sunflower, you asked two big, imaginative, and powerful questions. I'll approach each in turn with clarity and imagination so you can speak truth and possibility to your audience and yourself. Number one, what if the Niiji people in your culture had never been invaded and had developed tech, agriculture, society fully on your terms? Let's envision this together, and what could have been scenario that becomes a what we can be narrative for you. What might that society look like? Agriculture. With your ancestral land unviolated, the Niiji could have maintained and evolved indigenous sustainable farming systems, agroforestry, heirloom seed systems, deep ecological knowledge. Imagine advanced soil biology labs, biofertilizer derived from native plants, crop rotation systems perfectly suited to your local ecosystems, Florida soils, wetlands, and river systems. Technology and innovation. Instead of technology being imported from colonizers, your community's knowledge could have advanced naturally, combining traditional indigenous science with modern engineering. Think solar arrays combined with shade from native canopies, rainwater capture integrated with ancestral landforms, and community-owned microgrids. Economy and entrepreneurship. It says, you as dentist, entrepreneur, influencer, streamer, imagine a thriving local network where your practice is part of a larger holistic health economy. Oral health, nutrition, indigenous medicine, regenerative farming, tech startups, all co-owned by community. Governance and freedom. Without the imposition of outside colonial structures, your society's leadership could have been communal, matriarchal and patriarchal blend, deeply connected to land, culture, and service rather than extraction. Wealth and advance. Rich becomes redefined not just in money but in resilience, knowledge, autonomy, cultural clarity, health, biodiversity. Because you weren't oriented to serve someone else's economy, your innovations would serve your people and planet. Spiritual and cultural depth. Your slogan, hood to hood, it speaks to transformation. In this society, you be fully hooded, rooted, honored, and autonomous. You pass down stories that make the future strong. Lineage, land, and legacy. Alright? Do y'all see that? Then I said, is there any nation on the planet that was never invaded by the white/Western colonizers? Short answer is very rare. It said it's very rare. The historical sweep of colonization means most territories experience some form of external control or influence. But yeah, there are a few examples. It says Japan, frequently cited as a country that avoided full European colonization. It rapidly modernized Meiji Restoration and instead became a colonizing power itself. Thailand, often said to have never been formally colonized by a Western power, though it negotiated ceded territory and was under heavy influence. Ethiopia, in Africa, one of the few that successfully resisted full European colonization, especially Italy, and they maintained their sovereignty. Now that is pretty cool. And then it says Liberia, but I don't know about this because they still talking about African, I don't know about that part. Alright, so yeah, so that's what we would be doing if colonization never impacted our community and society. We would be on a whole nother level. So the fact that we have been under this system for 500 years and this is where we are now, to the point where they're cutting off food stamps, they're cutting off this. Honestly, welfare was never really for the indigenous melanated people. It started out being to help YT, and now a lot of us have used the system because it takes out from our taxes and our money, and If you're gonna send 24 billion, 34 billion, 99 billion over here, over there, then you know the government doesn't have your best interest at heart when they're doing things like this. They want to cause a panic, and today, guys, don't fall for the BS. In no shape, way, or form. We not falling for it. With the education, be careful what you're learning in your mind. With the Bible, I mean, just do your research and know what you're reading and know who wrote it. And with your mindset, always think from a sovereign standpoint. I've been learning so much, like between yesterday and today, I researched all of this, like, what the heck? Just like, what? Every day I learn something outrageous that has been done to my people. I learned something freaking outrageous. And I want to know when it stops. When does it stop? That's my last question. When does it end? When does it stop? Like, I'm sick of it. Like, when does it stop? Y'all got money for war, for rare earth minerals, all this, but you can't feed poor. You got money for everything else, but you want to make the people who built this country and their grandkids and their legacy go to jail for being homeless. You know, it's crazy because we own all the land. Now we own barely none of the land. They got it called forest divided using eminent domain. But today, my Niiji, we don't live in pity. We don't live in sadness. Hold your head up high, put your crown on, and be the royalty that you are. Don't let no one trick you out of your spot. And the tricking is going on every single day in the media with propaganda, on the socials. It's all over the place. It's a mission to trick you out of your spot. But in today, I need us to keep rising, keep talking, keep sharing, keep getting together, keep learning, keep growing, keep being unapologetic in every way, shape, and form. Alright? Now, I know this was a little tough topic, digging in the Bible. But see, I always been interested in learning more about religion because it never really made sense to me. Even in college, I took Bible courses in college because I wanted to know, like, what, you know, I got an A in that class, but it didn't really help me understand. It just broke down who this brother was, you know, but I never really, but this, what the guy yesterday showed us with that video, it really, really hit home. It really, really hit home. It really did. So I'm going to take that and keep trucking with it. Thank you guys for joining me here on the Hood to Hooded podcast. It's been really silent in the room today, probably because I've been just talking, but thank you for tapping the hearts. I see someone was tapping the hearts, and I appreciate you. Let me see if I can go back. It's going to show me. It's not going to show me. Who is the heart pumper? I don't know who the heart pumper is. Oh, there it is. Thank you, IWDN with a whole bunch of numbers for pumping those hearts. I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I will probably be back on here later today. I don't know. I got a big, long schedule today. Lots and lots of patience. And just dealing with a lot of, I don't know. Dealing with a lot. And dentistry is one of the hardest things I ever had to, well, I won't say dentistry. It's more the entrepreneurship part of it. It seems like a lot to learn, but every day I just keep trying. That's all we can do, guys, is just keep trying. You know? And I just hope that I could continue to connect with more people who just get it. Because everybody don't really just get it. Like, they don't even, like, question nothing. They don't even care. But we care. Alright, so I'll see y'all tomorrow. I could sit on here and talk all day to the empty room, but let me do something else with my time. So, but when I be going through these little moments where I learn this stuff, it just, how do y'all feel? I really want to know, to the chat, to the audience, if you're watching this on the replay, how do you feel after you learn this type of stuff? Like, what does it do to your mind? Like, does it make you, I don't know, like, how do you feel after this? Anybody? Or am I just alone right now in this shit?